Hello everybody, Dan here. Welcome back to Daily Soap Dish. If you're new here, please hit that subscribe button down below because we cover a ton of 90 Day Fiancé right here on the channel. All right guys, so let's get into it. Today we're going to be talking about Danielle Gates from New York and Yohan Geronimo from the Dominican Republic. And we've done a couple of videos about these two recently. That's because they've been one of the most drama-filled couples on the current season of 90 Day Fiancé. They kind of just ended and we're just waiting for the tell-all. And they've just had such a roller coaster of a relationship, a roller coaster of a season. And when they started, they seemed to be, you know, on a good footing. They seemed to be happy together. And that was a bit of a shocker because the last time that we had seen them before that was when they appeared on the tell-all previously. And at that point, basically, they had broken up like completely, right? Yohan basically dumped Danielle at the tell-all, didn't want anything to do with her, said the relationship was done. It's basically, you know, the same thing as what happened on this current season, where he's just completely done with the relationship. So then they came on and they were happy, but of course that didn't last very long. And then the problems started. And, you know, recently we saw Danielle basically drop the news that not only was Yohan cheating on her because she had proofs, but also he was cheating on her for over 2 years and even before they actually got married. So basically, you know, accusing Yohan of just completely using her from the get-go and never really intending of being in a serious relationship and always kind of having his bases covered just in case that he didn't get what he wanted with Danielle. And I guess that's what he did because the other woman, allegedly, based on the text that she showed, is willing to pay for Yohan's divorce proceedings. But that's not all, because there were multiple women involved in this whole cheating situation. And so let's take a look. Today's video, we're going to take a look a little bit about, at what happened with Yohan's cheating. We're also going to take a look to see if Yohan and Danielle are still together, because even though with all this cheating, you know, all these problems, there are some hints that these two might not have fully broken up. I find that incredibly hard to believe, but we're going to take a look at that as well. And we're just going to take a look a little bit at Danielle's Instagram and see what she posted recently and see if we can extract any information from that as well. So Danielle dropped bombshells on Monday's episode. This is on Entertainment Tonight, etonlineactually.com. During Monday's episode, Danielle said, aside from discovering a long-term affair that Yohan had engaged in since before she married him, she found at least 6 different women who had an inappropriate relationship with him. Yohan dramatically moved out of their apartment after he and Danielle continuously fought over money this season. Yohan claimed that Danielle was selfish and didn't want to give him any money, while Danielle pointed out that it was her money and he didn't contribute financially nearly as much as her. Now, Danielle packed up her things from their apartment as well as on Sunday's episode and said she no longer wanted anything to do with her estranged husband after learning some things about him over the past week. She said a woman reached out to her and said that she had been in a relationship with Yohan for over 2 years since the month before they got married. She said the woman wanted to know if she and Yohan were really getting a divorce. And this is a quote here, just what she said. She told me that she met his father and his nephew and gave the money that she had sex with him for all these years, and she knew that he was married and that he brought her to his apartment complex, or this apartment complex, I should say. She gave me a play-by-play of the entire relationship and described every single detail. Every time she saw him, sent me pictures that he sent her. One of them was a picture of his, private part that he sent on Christmas Eve while I was handing out gifts to his family in his neighborhood. And what's really shocking here to me, when I look over this, and I know that some of you guys mentioned this in the comments as well, is the fact that not only was Yohan cheating on Danielle allegedly, but that his whole family was in on it. This is like a family gig. They were all in on it. And whenever Danielle came around, and she came around to his family's house a couple of times, they all put on the smiley face as if nothing was happening. And they were just very happy and acting like they were just a happy family with Danielle there, who was getting cheated on at the same time. And the woman was sending the family members money as well. And I find that a little disturbing, I have to be honest, because I think that Yohan doing it is one thing, because obviously this relationship was never really going to last. He wanted one thing, he wanted a green card, and she didn't provide that. Now, speaking about the green card, we're also going to look at a bit of a timeline because there's been some misconceptions about exactly what Danielle said she would do for Yohan, and that's a big part of this video as well. So stay tuned for that. We're gonna get into that in a little bit. Somebody on Reddit kind of did a bit of the breakdown because not everybody watches Love in Paradise, and so some people might not be familiar with the timeline. Now, you know, Danielle said after doing more digging on his computer that he left at the apartment that she discovered even more transgressions. I went through his computer and I found evidence of other women that he's been in relationships with that he spent the night with. There are at least 6 different women that I know have had an inappropriate relationship with my husband, women that he's either reached out to and asked for money, that he's had video conversations with, that he's made plans to meet up with, and he sat here and bitched all year that he was broke. Meanwhile, he's been getting money from multiple bitches, is what she said. Danielle said that she tried multiple times to have a conversation with Yohan about his affairs, but he refused to talk to her. When she would show him evidence, he said that he would just tell her that he didn't remember. Danielle tearfully called him a monster. Now, this is my only criticism here. And I kind of feel like Danielle wants her cake and she wants to eat it too. I understand that Yohan was cheating. I'm not making excuses for Yohan whatsoever, but at one point, if you know that this guy is cheating, and if this guy dumped you before, and you know what he's about, and you kind of know that you're not bringing him to the US because you're afraid that he's going to dump you and go with somebody else, then at one point, why don't you cut this relationship loose? Why don't you just quit this whole thing? It seems to me like Danielle kept coming back to Yohan, and you know, maybe in some way she got a little bit of what she deserved. She should have cut him loose, you know, much earlier when they broke up on the previous season of the show. That should have been it. There should have been no more Danielle and Yohan. And I really think that the only reason why they toughed it out for one more season was for that TLC paycheck and nothing else. I really think that this relationship was done way before all of these accusations and all of this information and all of these receipts are coming to light. I think it was done, you know, a couple of months, maybe even years ago. Now, she said that I feel so foolish because I should have seen what was there from the beginning, of course. But when we weren't talking about money, we were so happy. We had such a beautiful life. Now I realize that none of that was real. It was all just a game. I want to believe that he really loved me. But when you love someone, you don't treat them this way. Danielle was conflicted about what to do next since she also didn't want to go back to her life in NYC. But the only other option was to stay in the Dominican Republic by herself. This is such a mind fuck because I haven't had enough time and space to process this relationship to even think about what I want to do next. So, you know, I don't know. That I feel like Danielle is playing, or she's overplaying. I think she is a victim here, but I think she's overplaying the victim card because, in my opinion, and it seems like if you read between the lines, she knew. She even said that, she approached Yohan about his cheating habits and whatnot, and he just kind of brushed it off. It's like, well, that's a red flag, right? If you keep doing that and he keeps brushing it off, that's obviously a huge red flag. So you kind of have to act on that. So if you just wait, and then you get all of this evidence dropped on you, and then you're like, whoa, well, you know, I'm so shocked by this. I'm not sure about that. I think that, you know, you knew all this information beforehand, or at least you had strong feelings that some of this stuff was true. Now, where does Danielle currently live? So there's been some, you know, differing information that's been put out there. So right now it seems that she's recently posted that she was in Miami Beach. I believe she was there. I think it was her mother's house, if I'm not mistaken. But she also posts, you know, on Instagram from New York City. So perhaps she's kind of doing time in both cities. She's spending some time in Miami Beach and some time in New York City. On November 22nd, Danielle shared a video of herself making pasta at Aunt Jake's restaurant in NYC. I'm trying to get more hands-on. And one of my favorite activities in New York City is Aunt Jake's pasta making experience. So yeah, so it's a little confusing. People, you know, want to know where exactly she lives, but it appears that she's very much in the U.S. at the very least. And the posts that I saw were mainly in Florida. Now, this is the part that I wanted to get to you guys. And I feel like this is kind of interesting because not many people watch Love in Paradise. And myself, I kind of skipped through a lot of it. I kind of watched it quickly. I didn't sit there for a lot of the episodes. And so the information that I got, perhaps there were some subtle things that I didn't get. And so this person on Reddit kind of gives a breakdown of the timeline. And the reason for that is because this person thinks that there is a false narrative put out there. And the narrative is that poor Yohan had no idea that Danielle wanted to stay in the Dominican Republic permanently. And a lot of people are using this information against Danielle, either to side with Yohan or to kind of bash Danielle. And I think that's fine because there's definitely some truth to Danielle lying about her intentions. However, let's take a look at this timeline and see what it says, and then we will discuss. So this person says, I see this argument here on the sub every day that Danielle promised to take Yohan to the US and that he had no idea at all that she wanted to remain in the DR permanently. Honestly, anyone who watched Love in Paradise Season 2 knows this isn't true. Firstly, yes, Danielle did lie to Yohan about taking him to the US. There's no denying that. She says that they'd agree she would file his papers and then she flaked on him. However, the way after she had made it so clear that she wanted to live in the DR permanently. Let's look at the timeline of events. So Love in Paradise Season 2, Episode 8. When Danielle meets Yohan's family before they get married, she also makes it clear that the US is not an option, that she would like to stay in the DR, and that she would like them both to work. She says ideally she would like to live a relaxing life in the DR and get an apartment by the beach and basically just chill. Season 2, Episode 8 or 9 of Love in Paradise. Before getting married, they met with that couple's counselor translator. I think we've also met him on this season, who spoke both English and Spanish. The whole reason why they met, actually this is a woman, so perhaps this is a different person. The whole reason why they met with this woman was because Danielle was worried Yohan may misperceived Danielle wanting to take him to the US when she doesn't. It was explained to Yohan in Spanish that this was not an option. He also got the chance to express himself that he really wants to go to the U.S. Now, Season 2, Episode 9 of Love in Paradise, the days before their marriage, they had countless arguments about this topic as well, but Danielle stood her ground and said that she was absolutely not going back to the U.S. One day later, they got married anyway, and Yohan said it was for love and not money. So, yeah. Okay, we'll get back to this point in a second. Danielle expresses her fear to Yohan that she's worried he's only marrying her for immigration benefits, which she swiftly assures isn't the case. Now, somewhere in between after Yohan and Danielle's marriage and the premiere of The Other Way, Danielle had a change of heart, and it was allegedly promised off camera that she would file for his papers to take him to the U.S. Now, if we fast forward to 90 Day Fiancé The Other Way Season 4, Episode 1, Danielle now arrives in the DR and says, Yohan and I have had many conversations about where we're going to live long term. I told Yohan that I would apply for the spousal visa for him to come live in the U.S., but I have since changed my mind. I understand that Yohan really wants to come to the USA, so I'm a little bit nervous about having this conversation. So this person basically says that Yohan knew all along that Danielle never really wanted to live in the US. So why did he marry her instead of calling off the marriage in the first place? Did he somehow think he would marry her anyway and then nag her to death about moving to the US until she just caved in? And, you know, I think there's two sides to this story. And yes, it's true that it's obvious. Danielle obviously put signs out there. She put conflicting signs. So she did say she would take him, and then she said she wouldn't, and then she said maybe, and then she said, well, you know what? Maybe let's not do the K1 visa. Maybe let's get you over on a tourist visa, which was, I think that was kind of like the moment when we knew that this relationship was kind of doomed, was when she switched that K1 visa to just a tourist visa, and that really didn't go over all that well. And so I think there's two sides to this. Yohan did marry her knowing that she had reservations, serious reservations about, you know, her wanting to go back to the US and wanting to live in the DR, but he married her anyways. And so should we not put any kind of, you know, should we not put the onus on Yohan for perhaps marrying her, and maybe instead he should have not married her if he just really wanted the green card? Because it was obvious as we went along the season, and you could see here that, you know, Yohan, he's also sent out very conflicting information at different points, you know, in his appearance on the show, on the multiple shows that he's been on, said that, oh, he didn't care about Danielle's money. But as we got towards the end of this season of 90 Day Fiancé, we saw him clearly state episode after episode. Every time he would sit down for an interview, he would state it clearly. Danielle, she is not doing what she promised. She promised me to take me to the USA. And if she's not doing that, then she has to pay. She has to get me an apartment. She has to get me a nice car. Like, he was very clear that he wanted money or he wanted to go to the USA. And that was basically it. And, you know, he never really talked about love or anything like that. So he did kind of say conflicting information. He kind of lied as well. So that begs the question, who was really at fault for this whole marriage, this whole relationship breaking down? I'm not exactly sure, guys. This is, I think it's for the better that this relationship is done. It wasn't ever really going to work out. Now, no matter what Yohan said about not marrying for money, I'm not sure that anybody buys that. I certainly don't. I always thought that, look, this guy, he works at resorts. He's a sanky-panky. That's what he does. He's looking for somebody like Danielle that will give him either money or give him opportunity to come to the USA. I never really saw much more than that, especially considering the 10-year age difference with these two. So I just wanted to bring you guys the story about, what happened yesterday, and also just this kind of breakdown of the timeline that this person did. A lot of people on Reddit agree with this, with this breakdown, and I've seen it myself. Over the seasons that they've been on, that I've watched, I've seen, the kind of the information that's been put out there by both of them, kind of, being different in one episode, in one season, and then changing, and so on and so forth. So we gave Danielle flack for lying about the green card or the K1 visa process. So I think that perhaps we should also give Yohan flack for marrying Danielle, knowing that she had serious reservations about it, and then pretending like he wasn't marrying for money, but was marrying for love, which obviously wasn't true whatsoever, in my opinion. So you guys let me know what you think about that in the comment section down below. Hope you guys did enjoy this video. Please give it a big thumbs up if you did. Also, don't forget to hit that subscribe button as well. And I will see you guys very soon. Take care.